Epic is complaining again, Gemini security issues, and another Bending Spoons acquisition. This is MacVoices. Today's MacVoices is supported by Clean My Mac and the new Cloud Cleanup feature. Get tidy today. Try 7 days free and use the code MacVoices20 for 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. Since we're just on a complaining mode, let's just keep on going with it. Epic is complaining about how many seconds it takes to install a third-party app store.
Can you believe how many steps? That's insane. 6 steps? Oh my gosh.
6 seconds, yeah.
Just stupid.
Crimea River.
I think headlines like this, I just hear Epic is complaining and the rest is blah, 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 blah.
Move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's those dark patterns that Apple deliberately put into the app. Epic had nothing to do with the design of their own portal into their own system. It's Apple's fault because the dark patterns make it difficult for people to make choices.
I'm reading this now and I realized just now, Marty, you're actually saying what they're saying. What the forking fork is wrong with these people?
What the graphic in the article is even better. It shows the 6 steps. And it's like, what's the problem here?
And half of those steps are like the waiting for something to happen. It's not even a step. It's ridiculous.
I recognize that this kind of article is somewhat clickbait, but on the other hand, Epic has been so vocal, and if you buy into some of their arguments, okay, fine. They got the win, they got the ability to install a third-party app store, and now they're complaining about this. And it's just like, what do you want?
Phony.
Yeah.
But they're doing this for the consumer, Chuck.
Yeah, thank you. I feel so protected. Yeah.
At least they didn't say that we'd thank them later.
That was just assumed.
Yeah. Just wait. We'll call them and get a quote, Jim, for you.
But Chuck, we'll come to appreciate Epic's whining at some point. Just like Rivian.
There's this terrible desire that I have right now to say, everybody, this Saturday, go out, go into a Rivian showroom, sign up for a test drive, and then just before you get in the car, say, it does have CarPlay, right? And when they say no, walk out.
Yeah, that's going to be real effective.
Well, I know, but it would just be fun.
It'd be fun, yeah.
Sometimes I just want to do things for fun, Jim.
This article talks about...
I'd do the test drive first and then say it.
Yeah, I would do the test drive and sit down and talk with the sales guys, start talking numbers, and waste a bunch of time.
Yeah, there you go.
And then I would say in an offhand way, okay, so CarPlay, is it wireless or wired in this car?
I don't think Rivian, they don't have, they do it like Tesla, you buy on the website.
I don't know. The only thing about that part of the plan, Jeff, is that takes up my time to go do the test drive.
True.
And, I'd rather make the point without taking up my time.
Have you ever scared the salesperson in a test drive? I always warn them. I warn them. Okay, now we're on the open road. I'm about to do this, this, and this to test handling and braking. And they're like, yeah, okay. And then I do the maneuvers I'm going to do. And I have had the salespeople going, sitting beside me in the car. But I warn them, I'm going to do these things.
I did it once. I drove a car with stick. Never drove stick motor in my life, and I had my buddy in the back seat. I'm sitting there pushing the clutch. It was a Hyundai. This is going like 40 years ago. And it's a busy highway, and I'm trying to jump in the car, trying to make the turn. It forced me to learn stick for a few years. So
that's
he was
fantastic.
freaking out though. Yeah. Well.
Mine last test drive, I pointed out to the guy that we almost ran over an albino squirrel. Every time I go in to get my car serviced, he brings that up. I don't know why.
You live in a weird place.
I do.
He's got thoughts about squirrels. So
yeah, well, that's a whole nother. Let's move on. Thank you, Dave. Let's not bring that up.
No, let's go back to that.
No, I don't want to confess to anything here. Today's Mac Voices is supported by MacPaw and their cloud cleanup feature. Try it for free and get 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. Is your cloud storage like the back of your closet, full of forgotten files, duplicates, and mystery folders you swore you'd clean out someday? Well, that day just arrived, thanks to Cloud Cleanup by MacPaw, part of Clean My Mac. Cloud Cleanup connects directly to your iCloud, Google Drive, or OneDrive and scans for those massive space wasters you've lost track of, old synced files, duplicates, and documents you no longer need, and probably even forgot you had. You can delete them from your disk or clear them just from the cloud, instantly freeing up gigabytes of valuable cloud storage space. And every scan happens locally on your Mac, so your data stays safe and private. No uploads, no sharing, no surprises, and no security issues. If you change your mind later, you can restore your files with a single click. It's fun to watch that storage used indicator drop as you get back all that space. And it's one more way Clean My Mac, crafted by the team at MacPaw and notarized by Apple, keeps your Mac and your cloud running like new. So stop letting your cloud become a digital junk closet. Get tidy today with Clean My Mac and the new Cloud Cleanup feature. Try it free for 7 days and use the code MacVoices20 for 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. That's CLNMY.com/MacVoices. Cloud Cleanup by MacPaw, because not everything deserves cloud storage. Thanks to MacPaw for supporting MacVoices. Jeff, I kind of had you in mind for this one because of our discussion last week that you are a Chrome user because of Workona. Mm-hmm. And I know that I don't know. I don't know how much, if at all, you're using Gemini. But this article points out that if you're using Gemini in Chrome, there's a bit of a cost to user privacy. And I wanted to get your reaction to that and see, if that's affecting your thinking at all. Since it seems like Gemini is slowly making its way into Chrome so that you won't be able to say yes or no as to using it.
Okay. So, I'll start with the clarification. I'm using a Chromium-based browser. I'm using Edge, not Chrome. And, but that said, I'm not doing much with Gemini. I've played with it a little bit. And this isn't going to have an impact on how I use Gemini because I'm finding that that for the tests that I've done, there's no point in me using Gemini for anything. ChatGPT and Perplexity cover the things that I need a generative LLM AI system for. The fact that privacy is basically non-existent when you're using Gemini is no surprise to me on any level. I mean, Google's business model is harvesting and reselling your data. So, of course, you're not going to have any privacy when using this. And realistically, when you're using other AI systems, you have a very low expectation of privacy in those as well. It's the nature of how the system works. if you need to have a high level of privacy while using a tool like this, then you need to look at running local models on your own machine, or you're probably part of a corporate environment where they have a sandboxed version of whatever the model is that you need to be using. And so your information is getting firewalled from the company that provides that service. Yeah, the bigger thing here that I'm seeing is the problem with not actually being able to get away from using an AI model that you are not interested in using. And I mean, like, just do a regular Google search now. And the first thing that comes up is Google's own AI responses. And unless you're using Chrome, to the best of my knowledge, there's no way to turn that off. And when you're using Edge, if you say like control click on something and you get the magnifying glass to do a search on whatever it is, it's going to do a Bing search for you. And I mean, and that's not as egregious, but the point is, of course, Google's doing this. And of course, every system that is able to do something similar to this is going to do that. It doesn't mean it's always a bad thing, but not having the ability to control what it is that you're actually using and how it's being used in conjunction with your activities, that's where the problem comes in, at least for me.
So, Jeff, you bring up Bing, which I think is interesting. I'm not an Edge user, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But when I go to Bing.com and I do what is sort of just a very generic search, the first thing I get at the very top is Copilot search results. So they've integrated this now, their AI into the search, even though I didn't want to use it. Now there it is.
Yep. And see, that's part of the problem right there. And how do you not use a service that you don't want to use? And I think the answer long term is, well, that's not an option. You are going to be forced into using AI search models regardless of whether or not you want to, and you may not even have a choice of like choosing which one you want to use. I see this as a big problem for consumers in the long run.
So, okay. So while we're talking, I'm sitting here playing. So DuckDuckGo will let me do a search, or I can do it with, I can search privately with search, or I can use the duck.ai search. So they give me an option.
Yes. And I mean, and that's great. So yes, DuckDuckGo is a great example of giving the user control of how they perform a search and what information is involved in that.
Right.
And I think that's a really good model of how this can be done, but the big name players don't want to do that.
Right. Let me catch up a little bit here, Marty.
Yeah, couple of things. Chrome, and I am I have been a user of Chrome primarily because that's how it's integrated. At my university, we're doing Google Docs, and all of that runs better through Chrome. So I'm kind of stuck on that highway. However, Workana, which works with Chrome, also works with Firefox. And so I can get out of that ecosystem because I use Workana. Thanks to Jeff, I use Workana for a lot of show organization. Every time you send out, this is what we're going to talk about tonight, I click that into a Workana tab, and I've got all the articles up and ready to go. With Chrome, it used to be they had a thing called Laboratory, and you had to switch that on, and Laboratory was like the pilot beta of AI searching. And now that's not integrated into the system anymore. You just, as you see when you use a updated version of Chrome, you get that section at the top of your search results. That is the AI version of your search results. And then you have to page down to actually get the information that you need. So it is kind of being built into browsers, whether you want it or not.
Brian?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm just the odd man out on this one, but my habits have really started to change over the past maybe 6 months or so when it came to web searches. I tend not to use a search engine, the traditional search engines at all really anymore when trying to find information. If I'm looking at news stories, I go to a particular news source or that type of thing. But when it comes to making an inquiry, usually things like, the ChatGPT directly, or maybe through Apple Intelligence using I guess the once removed way to ask ChatGPT something as well. I don't tend to go into a browser for inquiries as much as I used to. If there's a specialized focus on what I'm trying to find, say there's maybe a restaurant or something like that, I'll tend to use something like Apple Maps and search for something and then find that information, or maybe something like Yelp or in that regard. But yeah, I don't know. Just my search habits have changed where I was looking at the story and I didn't even find it to be a factor for me.
Hey, Brian, you just totally nailed the core of this. You have options there. You are intentionally choosing to perform a search, to perform an AI-assisted search, because you're using ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever. When you do that, that's a conscious, active choice, and that's great. That's how it should be.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate for just a second here, because I'm becoming more sensitive to the fact that the searches are AI, and therefore it feels like I may be compromising my privacy a little bit more. But did any of us really think about any of this when the search engine wars were going on and they were all developing their own algorithms? And Google obviously was the one that was pointed at as harvesting so much user information. But is this just the only way that they're going to be able to compete is to have an AI-backed search?
I think this is a way that they feel they have to compete right now. The model that I see as the ultimate Google killer, which is not going to happen, just to be clear, is if someone came up with a system that was as comprehensive as what Google can offer, but gave you what Google used to do, which is give you search results that were not weighted based on who's paying what or on an AI model. It was just, this is what I'm looking for. Oh, here's the sites that have that. And then just give that to you and then not track you based on that. That's a killer model, but it's also a killer model that I don't think is practical anymore, at least from a business sense.
Well, Jeff, you took it right out of my mouth. Is that the same discussion we just had about Rivian and CarPlay? Is it some of this stuff seems to be just too tempting not to try to charge for or not to try to ignore?
Well, so charging for a web search, what is it? Kanji? Is that right? Kagi. Thank you. They have a paid subscription web search where you are not the product. And so that's definitely an option. The problem is that everyone has been trained, conditioned to think that search is free. And of course, if you think it's free, you're the product. So it's a hard business model for a company like Kagi to, am I saying that right? Kagi?
I think so.
Kagi. It's a hard business model to use to go head to head with a company like Google. But the point is, there are options like that out there if you're willing to pay.
Right. Dave, before we leave this.
Yeah, just real quick. I'm going through a lot of stuff at work in the enterprise with the AI, and think about what companies have to do when they come with this. They have to pay some serious amounts of money to get what they need to keep things secure. You could search work data on through Copilot. You can search it and you can break it down with whether you search your work stuff or go on the web and search stuff as well, creating web things like that too. So Microsoft and ChatGPT, all those companies have to balance where the search goes, and you have, like you just talked about, Bing is a service that, yeah, it's free, but your information is being given. You don't have that option unless you go with these private type of things. That's what companies have to do to keep things private. I mean, how is these companies going to make money if they don't force upon that? Now, you talked about going into Chrome. Gemini comes up every time now. I haven't even figured out if there's even a way you can disable it. So it's there. I use Edge at work. That doesn't come up because I'm using it on my work computer. So we control it based on what Copilot set because they have that control. So same thing if you are just a consumer searching on any browser that has this, that's what's going to happen.
Dave, I think that's really interesting that you bring that up because every company I know is out there evaluating their AI policies and their AI models as to what you can and can't do, what you should and shouldn't do.
Right.
And yet I have yet to. I don't remember ever seeing anybody questioning which search engine you use. Do you use Bing? Do you use Google? I know it's not quite the same thing, but it still feels like there's a similarity there. That maybe we were just naive when the search thing started as to how much information we were potentially giving away.
Well, and that's the thing too. Before Copilot, Bing was the place to go for Microsoft. They wanted you to go to Bing, use the search, use their maps, use all that information that was within Bing. And now Copilot's the way to go in the Microsoft world. They're all in with this. You have to go to there and be able to use their tools. But granted, their tools are not bad. I mean, they are pretty gosh darn good. Like I said, I went through a bit of a session today and saw some of the things that it's capable of. Ongoing learning about AI. It's here to stay, guys. You have to keep learning it. And I think all of us here are doing it in one way or another. I'm doing the best of both worlds. I'm kind of like with Mac and PC. I do both. That's unique. Not a lot of people are on both platforms. Same thing with, I think AI kind of works the same way. You need to know these platforms, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. I need to go deeper into that. Perplexity, I tried that. You got to know all of them. And it just boggles my mind where this has gone this quickly. And then that really brings it into the search part of it. So it's all going to be there.
Yeah. We have a couple more I want to try to get to because some are interesting, some I think are just important to be aware of. But I don't know if it was last week or week before we talked about bending spoons, acquiring Vimeo. Well, now, as of last night, I didn't get to check today, but as of yesterday, they have offered $1.4 billion to acquire AOL. Yeah, B with a billion with a B, to acquire AOL. The Vimeo acquisition was, I believe, $1.38 billion. So they're laying out some pretty hefty money for a variety of services here. We've talked about Evernote. We've talked about Filmic. I think there was one other one that surprised me last week. Oh, LastPass. LastPass, I believe, is now owned by Bending Spoons. And so I can't decide whether there's a master plan here or whether they are just acquiring high value or high profile properties. But it's something to watch.
It is.
There is a hilarious sentence in this article. The deal would add AOL's vast user base to Bending Spoon's portfolio.
I want those dial-up users in that user base.
Yeah.
They're just shut down.
I hope they start sending out 3.5-inch floppy disks again.
Yeah. Or the CDs too. They had a lot of coasters.
Yeah.
I used to make clocks out of the CDs.
Yeah.
Give them out to people. Put them on their walls. Good times.
You're such a philanthropist, Jeff.
Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.